Hello and welcome to the 13th edition of Half Hour, a podcast starring me, John Paul Ogidici, as your host. In today's episode, I'll discuss Germany with my friend Marvin Wilhelm. Thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. So just kind of starting off, tell us a bit, about your life. Are you working? We both go to the same college. We're both in student council. Just tell us more about your everyday.
So, I'm from Germany, I'm from the south. To detail it more, I'm in the near from Nuremberg. And so I'm not that far from the Czech Republic. Actually, the border is 50 or 45 minutes far away by car, and Prague is a 2.5 hours drive. And yeah, I'm a psychology student in my third year. And what else about myself? I'm a learned teacher, that's the right translation, if you would go for that. So I was working with children, with people with special needs. I had some experience abroad in Canada, and now I'm here in the Czech Republic.
And it's funny, I also worked with some special needs kids when I was in high school, a little bit in college when I was working as a camp counselor. So it can be challenging, but I think it's a very rewarding experience. You learn a bit more about yourself and about these kids.
It is. I have one story for you. So I was working for 2 years in the same kindergarten.
Which city was this in?
It was in a village close to my town. So my town is called Neumarkt, and we have 40,000 inhabitants. But in Germany, it's still considered as a small city because we have 83 million people in Germany, and with 40,000, you're a pretty small city.
Yeah, I grew up in a place, 55,000 roughly, and we call it's the city of Peabody. We'll call it the city of Peabody, but it is also a small city, if that makes any sense. So similar background there, I think.
Yeah. So and then the village I worked in the kindergarten was a village, let's say, with 1,000 people are living there, and so I was working there for 2 years, and 3 years later I had an internship at the primary school the child went to, and I just saw the development, and it was so cool to see. They remembered me. I saw how far they are now. They can read, they can write, they can calculate even. It's just a great experience to see that you were the reason why they are now there where they are. And
yeah,
that's really rewarding.
The influence you've had on them,
yes.
And the impact, yeah. I definitely, when I was a camp counselor, I was always on the playground with these kids, having fun and talking with them and really trying to pick their brain. I'm more of a conversationalist. I mean, obviously I have this podcast, but I always felt some of the kids I would have an easier time talking to, others not. But these kids can be very inquisitive. They can be, they can really talk a lot about different things. But in Germany, what would you say the biggest difference between Germany and Canada was? Just as an example, what would you say was a massive cultural difference? Or I'm trying to make the point here that Canada is very similar to the U.S. We're very, very similar, unless you're talking about Quebec. So largely Canadian culture can be similar. So I'm trying to see what the differences you think might be.
That's a really good question. I'm honest, before I came to Canada, I was thinking, okay, it will be similar to Europe. But I tell you, not at all. No chance.
Really?
Yes. But not in a bad sense. It was just a more surprising sense that I was surprised by the people. They're just really calm down. They're not as strict as in Germany. Germany, I have to say, it can be a big advantage, but also sometimes a big disadvantage that we're sometimes too strict with ourselves. We have just this in our heads, And what else? Canada was unbelievable in sense of that everything was focused in the big cities. That's something I don't know from Germany. So, for example, I have the Prague example, the Prague-Berlin example, which is also pretty good for Canada. So in Germany, we have 83 million inhabitants, and 3 million of them are living in Berlin. So it means every 20th or even more, 25th, no, let's say 22nd the person is living in Berlin, while in Prague, for example, we have in the Czech Republic 10, 11 million people here, and 1.5 are already living here. That means
1 in 10, kind of.
yeah. So 1 in 10 is already living here, and this is like in Canada. Everything is focused on one point, and if you go out into nature, there's no life. No life in the sense of no human life. You have just a nature. You can calm down. You can relax. But it's something which is pretty new for me because I was used to it. I go from my city to the next city. There's a supermarket. The next gas station is in 5 kilometers, and not like in Canada where you have to wait like 50 miles, 50 kilometers as you want to see. And
well, it's interesting that you're bringing this up because I know what you're trying to say. Like the nature in the U.S. and Canada is a lot more expansive. Obviously, just because the countries are so much bigger.
Yeah.
But like when I went hiking in Germany with I think a few people you know, but it was like last year. We did like a little hiking trip there. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But like I just remember hiking around, and there were always people around, and like there were like restaurants at the top of these hills, and that's common here in Europe. I still to this day, like I'm bewildered by that because in the U.S., you climb a hill. There's nothing at the top.
No chance.
Yeah, maybe like Mount Washington, for example. That's in the state of New Hampshire. I've been there a few times. I've driven up. I've hiked up, and at the top there's like this like food area, like very similar to here. Like it's like the same kind of vibe. No beer though. Like they don't serve alcohol there. Too bad. But it's just, I know what you're trying to say, like the nature in the US and Canada is a bit more like for real, like you're out in the wilderness, you know?
Absolutely, yeah, that's what I want to say. But in the end, it's cool to see that we still have like these huge differences, even though we are now in the 21st century. The last years, everything was going fine. We had good relationships within other countries. And one fact which was also pretty surprising for me, I have to say the the North American life compared to Europe life was that I was shocked by the fact that when I went to the supermarket and I went to go and I saw a price and I saw, wow, that's pretty cheap. And then I went to the check desk and was like, why is it now $5 more? And that's
the taxes.
The taxes are added after that. That was something which was really surprising for me because
I don't like that. Like I think it should be a bit more transparent. You know, like I'm with you there. Like I don't like how it says one thing and then it's another price. Like that bothers me. But okay, so those are some of the major differences. Like I gotta say, one thing I don't like about Europe is the bathroom thing, where it's like you have to pay to go to the bathroom, unless you already bought something. Like in the KFC down the road, like they give you a code, you go in and go to the bathroom after you buy something. In America, it's like you can walk into any Wendy's and just walk in and go to the bathroom. Like I don't know. I don't like here how they make you pay for it, but I guess each system has some twists in there. But I'd like to hear, I guess, more about like German culture and specifically like the regional difference, because I know you were telling me a bit before about how like Bavaria, where you're from, is a bit different from the north of Germany, or like even the west. So like what were your thoughts on that?
So I can compare the situation a little bit like with the regions in Spain. So for example, maybe the conflict with Catalonia and the other regions. So Catalonia wants to be independent.
Basque is another one.
Yeah, or Alaska.
Basque, like
Basque, yeah, I got
Spain.
Alaska.
yeah, well, I guess Alaska technically a little bit, but
the Basque Land, yeah. But the thing is, I mean, we're not that far, like the Catalonia, who already tried to apply to be independent, but in Bavaria, you always feel a quite difference. Even if you're outside of Bavaria, Germans mostly don't give you the title as a German. I'm a Bavarian for them. Maybe it's because of the dialect, so I have to say I speak High German, but if I would speak the dialect, you would hear immediately that I'm from this region. even though I'm not pretty good in it. But we just have huge cultural differences, even though by the fact that we were like our own state till the early 19th century. Maybe you know King Ludwig?
I know a lot about like German unification,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Was he before?
Before the First World
Who's
War.
way before? Like was it?
No, before the First World War.
Well, you had Kaiser Wilhelm.
Yes, but he's different. He was like the leader of whole Germany then.
Okay, he was like the German emperor.
Yeah,
And
and
then
Ludwig was for Bavaria.
Okay. And was he around when the North German Confederation like
There were more
attacked
Ludwigs.
France?
There were more Ludwigs of them.
Oh, okay.
There's a chance, yeah. And I would easily start by the fact that we are different when it's about food. So the North is more focused on fish, because in the North you have the sea. And the South is more into cheese and into meat.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Livestock and
livestock.
such.
And maybe you also know the famous traditional dress, the Lederhosen.
Yeah.
So there's also a female version. It's called Dirndl for the women.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one. I have a lederhosen. We mostly wear it like to special traditions, to special festivals. It's not like that we celebrate Christmas in lederhosen, but there are some weddings where you wear just the lederhosen, or
Some
or the
traditional.
Oktoberfest, for example, which is pretty expensive.
That's pretty cool though. I mean, like I never saw Oktoberfest. Like I never saw it. I'd love to see it someday.
You have to.
I know it's coming up. I'm thinking about it, but if it's in the budget book, I don't see why not. But
It's an experience for itself. It's something unique. Even though there are like many Oktoberfests around the world. So for example, I knew when I was in Canada, I was invited to one near to Toronto, and I saw it, and it was not the same as in Germany, to be fair. But isn't it crazy how high the influence is just because of one fest?
Yeah, and it's like I remember my uncle was telling me he really wanted to go and like drink at Oktoberfest and like experience the beer there and stuff, and I was kind of like, oh, like okay, like I'm down. Like we were all gonna go actually in October of 2020, but as you know, the pandemic.
COVID came, yeah. But you speak about beer. What do you think about German beer? German or Czech beer? That's now my question.
You can't
for
ask me that. I don't know. Like I don't think I've had enough German beer to like tell you. I have to side with the Czech Republic right now, just because I haven't had enough German beer. Like I have a lot of beer here: Staropramen, Kozel, Pilsner Urquell. That's like one of my favorites is Pilsner Urquell. But let's get some German beer sometime, man. Like I'm down. Like I need to like definitely dip into that a little bit.
What about meals? Do you know some German meals?
I know bratwurst.
Bratwurst, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. Is the chicken schnitzel, is that German or is that Czech?
So the schnitzel itself, I would say it's more Austrian. So the original one is the Wiener Schnitzel, so the Vienna Schnitzel.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's still really deep in our culture too. And
oh wait, is that where that comes from? Wiener Schnitzel?
Vienna, yeah. Vienna.
No way. So my neighbor had a wiener dog. And that comes from like the name comes from
the city.
Wow, I didn't even know that, and I learned something right now. Like I literally just learned that. Holy crap, man! I didn't know that.
Yeah, but else, when it's about in Germany, also you have the difference. So if you're in the north, everything is flat, but the more you go into the south, it feels like you're in the mountains. So I would say I live like in the mountains, and not like. So if I compare it to America, I would say I live in the mountains.
Okay. So like you're near like I know the Alps are pretty dominant in the south.
Okay, well that's the next
Those are
level.
like mountains.
Mountains, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're used to it. It's weird for me when I was traveling outside of Bavaria, outside of the south, when it's just all flat and the nature is all the same, to be honest. So when it's about nature, the south is the most beautiful thing you can see in Germany. And we have the Schloss Neuschwanstein, so the castle Neuschwanstein. That's really beautiful.
Is that the really, really big one?
Yes, it's with the wonderful view.
And it's like nestled in the mountain.
Yes, exactly.
And there's a road going up, like you can
Yes,
drive up.
you could, yes.
Okay. I went to Berlin actually. I did go to Berlin. I feel like I can say I've been to Germany just because I hiked around in the woods there, and I've been to Berlin, but like I haven't really been to Germany in a lot of different ways. Like I can say, like, I was making this point on one of my other podcasts, but like I went to Hungary, right? Like on a trip, I went to Budapest.
Yeah.
But I can only say that I've been to Budapest. Like I don't really think I can say I've been to Hungary.
Yeah.
I mean, like technically, yes, I've been to Hungary, but I didn't see any of the countryside. I didn't talk to any of the people there. I didn't like experience like the culture in the Hungarian countryside. So like I've just been to Budapest.
Yeah.
Czech Republic, I can say a bit differently. Germany, I can say technically I've been to Germany just in my book, just because I went to Berlin and then I did some hiking there. But I know a little bit about German history and like the German culture and like the languages. Like I know that like Bavarian's closer to Austrian.
Definitely, yeah. Especially when it's about the dialect. So I understand Austrians very easy, and it could be a problem for a person who's from the north or from the east or from the west. But we're really connected when it's about food and just the cultural traditions, you know.
Yeah, like Austria is very similar in that way. Would you say that like when you say like it's harder to understand people in the north, like what, like how do you mean? Like I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, because I know in the south like people have accents,
Yes.
but I get them. Like I understand what they're saying. So
They also have their accents, to be fair, but they're more focused on the High German, so on the basic German language, while the Southern German language is influenced by the Austrian influence, by the Swiss influence, and I have to say Northern accent is not that hard to not understand. More problem is for me the Eastern German, because they still had the influence of the Soviet Union, you know, and the language is just different than the language we speak, but it's still in a way where you can understand. I mean, we all can speak High German, but it's just a regional thing that you adapt to your family, friends, how they speak, and I think it's more interesting to speak about the difference than to the Swiss German, because for me, to understand Swiss German is pretty hard.
I've heard that from a few other people too. Like one of my friends here is from Thuringia, and she said the same thing. She said Swiss is kind of like hard, but like, can you understand them, or is it like?
Yeah. So I say if they're Swiss German speakers, between 60 and 70%, and if I get the context, 100. But there's some words I just don't use. For example, in Germany we say for bicycle or for bike we say Fahrrad, but the Swiss German uses also much more French words than we do. So for example, they say vélo. That's like just a short form of bike in French. And I would not know what vélo is, but now I know.
One of the only things I remember from my Italian class is bicycle is bicicletta. So that's like one of the only things I remember. But to me, it's so strange that like you speak the same language, but it's hard to get like points across sometimes. Like I guess the British, like I guess we have a similar story with them. Like I understand their English, but there are just some words I wouldn't use, and that I would understand given the context. So it's like the same story. Scottish and Irish can be hard to understand. I would say they're among the harder ones. Australia and New Zealand, they're fine. Like I can get them. They have some strange words as well, but really Canada's the exact same. Like other than French Canada, they use much the same dialogue.
Yeah.
I would argue that some of the Canadian western provinces are more like the northern U.S. states, like North Dakota, Montana, Idaho, like South Dakota. Those like prairie plain states and like the mountain west states, like they can be very similar in this way. Like in terms of like dialogue and pronunciation, like Midwesterners speak very good English, you know, like it's very well put together. My roommate here from Colorado, it's the same story. Like that, I can just tell by hearing it. It's very well structured and put together. My English, where I'm from in Boston, is a little like it's slightly different. Like we just don't pronounce things the same way sometimes. But it's very, very sparingly occurring. Like of course I understand him when he speaks. But so you have, I know in Switzerland they have Swiss, or like German, Swiss or whatever. Then they have like French, Italian, and they have Romansh. Where do you know like that language is that German or is that French more?
It's more French. Yeah, it's not. It has nothing to do with German.
Okay, so it's like a French language.
Yeah, because also it says romantic language.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, we're Germanist, so German is
A little different.
a little different. Yeah.
What about like, so for someone in the north of Germany, would it be harder to understand like an Austrian person than a Bavarian?
100%.
Than a Bavarian.
Yes. Well, so, but also, the fun fact is in Bavaria we also divide again.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Franconia, if
Mm-hmm.
you know. When Nuremberg, for example, Nuremberg is in Franconia. And
that's more like facing the Czech Republic, kind of.
Yeah, they're part of, but also my region is facing to the borders to the Czech Republic. But Franconia is again different than Bavaria because they have again a different accent and a different dialect, and also a different culture, even though they're in Bavaria. But it has to do with a lot of history, lots of changes. But compared to a northern German, we in the south, we understand Austrians easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So sometimes I even could say where the dialect is from.
I know that in Schleswig-Holstein,
Schleswig-Holstein. Yeah.
that's the like the peninsula that sticks out.
On the top, yeah.
Would you like? Okay, so I know Danish is Scandinavian, obviously, but it's a Germanic language.
Mm-hmm.
Can you Okay, maybe not you, but could someone in northern Germany or in that region like get it, or like it's not?
Yeah. Yes and no at the same time. So I have to say, first of all, in the north you learn Danish.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend from Schleswig-Holstein, for example, he learned during his school Danish. But the language has some. You hear it sounds similar, but at the end it's still different. Some words are shared. For example, I had a talk with a Danish guy. He was at UNIP last semester for Erasmus, and he spoke in Danish and I in German, and we tried to understand each other. And some words I understood clearly, but I had no clue what he was talking about.
Others are very tough.
It's more about Dutch. Dutch is a potential. So I can understand Dutch, let's say 30%, sometimes 100 if I get the context in the word. Because you have to hear it. If you read in Dutch, it's complicated, you will not get it, but if you listen to Dutch, you can get it.
It's just so fascinating because, like, Germany's surrounded by all these countries.
Yeah.
Some are Romance speaking, some are Slavic speaking, some are Germanic speaking as well.
By the way, fun fact, in Europe, German is the most spoken language.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you divide Russia, the part of Russia with the Asian and the European part.
Oh, like the Ural Mountains?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Then is German the most spoken language, and I think in total we have 130 million German speakers.
In Europe?
Yeah, should be. So 83 million Germans, 8 million Austrians.
Some Swiss.
Some Swiss, let's say, I think 6 million, 5 million, and then it's spread, Dutch people can speak German, and also with the second language, West German.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What, was there an effect on I'm going to pick your brain, right? The Soviets occupying East Germany for that long of a time period, I'm sure that there are maybe not words, but phrases and dialects that have occurred because of that, or is it's not so bad?
It's a complicated topic. So if you speak about the post-Soviet influence, it's something I have to say. First of all, that you can still feel the East.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're able to understand, but if I just see the infrastructure, and if I travel from the south to the east, I still see it. You know,
Yeah,
the
like
buildings are different.
the structure.
The structure, maybe even the type of advertising, how people are, if they're more direct or not, if they are just open-minded, or if they.
So the culture is a bit different as well.
It is a bit different, yeah, and they are more, let's say, more in the past,
Okay.
to say it friendly.
I sort of get what you're saying. So there's some attitudes there that are a little more conservative in a way, like very.
Yeah, so when it's about politics, so the last elections last year, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
The-
Schultz is your new prime minister.
Yeah.
I mean, Angela Merkel was there for a very long
I
time.
tell you, Angela Merkel was my whole life. For 16 years, she
Mhm.
was the chancellor. 16 years. I'm 24 years old. So, from 2005 to 2000, till 2021, she was the
Yeah,
mother.
she was pivotal, right?
She was the mother of the nation. I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
she was the mother, and it was weird. It's still weird that she's not our president anymore, or like a chancellor, but.
Yeah.
We will get used to it. We have to.
You know, I was gonna say like it's such an interesting kind of vibe because the only time in American history where we had a leader serve for that long was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and basically this was during the Great Depression and World War II and stuff like that. But basically the message I'm trying to convey is that before FDR, you could run for a third term, but it was like an unspoken rule. Like it was like something you just don't do. He ends up winning his fourth term, and then he died. I think he died shortly after. I think the 1944 election he wins, and then he died in April of 1945. But after that point, they had to pass an amendment, actually codifying that you can't run for a third term. I think you can be appointed to a third term. So, for example, like, just as a theoretical, like Joe Biden could appoint Obama as his vice president, and then Joe Biden could step down, and then you'd have Obama again. But it would be like you'd have to, it would be very public, and you'd have to do it that way. But the only time in American history we had a period like that, where we had a president for that long. So I guess it's just interesting seeing it in Germany in the modern day. But yeah, she was good. I mean, like from what I know, she was a good leader.
Well, I cannot complain. I had a good life. I went to school. I had a roof over my head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just weird that she's not there anymore. Not that I say that I miss her, but I'm not used to it. And also the whole population of Germany.
I heard something that now it's like they call it like the traffic light coalition. You have the red, which is the
SPD.
Yep, and then you have the yellow and the green. The yellow's the Free Democrats,
Yeah,
right?
the FDP. And the Greens are the Grünen.
Yeah, the Greens. So I guess it'll be interesting seeing what they do next and like seeing what their ambitions will be and like how they're going to run their country. But Berlin was spotless when I went, so I gotta say, like, you guys take good care of that city. I'm not gonna lie, there were some areas where I was like, okay, like this is a little strange, like it's a little off-putting, like some of the places, but I think largely it's a good city,
Yeah, when it's about cities, not only Berlin is Germany. There's so many good cities. One of my favorite cities is Munich. I love Munich.
I hear so many good things about it.
Munich is great. Munich is insane. If you're into sports, go to Bayern Munich, watch a game. If you just want to enjoy the wonderful English garden, go there. Go to the famous Hofbräuhaus, have a beer, and have some delicious food. Also, what is maybe an insider, or maybe not anymore, is Hamburg. Hamburg. People are in love with the city.
Really?
Yes, they are. Even though I've never been to, but always when I ask my friends, yeah, where should I go? Go to Hamburg.
Mm-hmm.
I ask her why. It's like the best city I've ever seen, and it's weird for me. Because
I'll put it on my list, definitely.
you know what is even a fun fact that you can see how big Germany is. So from my city, from the south, it's closer for me to go to Italy, to Milano, than to Hamburg.
Really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm thinking about the Alps as like a tough way.
Yeah, yeah.
I was really thinking about walking. Like that's what I was thinking when you said that. But yeah, man, that's pretty cool. Like I definitely want to see a bit more of Germany. Like that is for sure. There's a lot of places I haven't been, like Frankfurt, Hamburg, Munich, Stuttgart. Oh, is Baden-Württemberg?
Baden-Württemberg?
Yeah, is that the do they speak more like you, or do they speak more like the North? Like, or are they just kind
They
of like
have their own dialect.
They're like doing their own thing. Do you think that they understand the Swiss the best?
They understand the Swiss the best, definitely.
Okay.
And it's even split it into regions. So you have you have Schwaben, which is also part of Bavaria, and also Baden-Württemberg, and then you have Baden, which is just a region.
And that's where Stuttgart is.
Yeah, I don't know if Stuttgart is Schwaben or Baden, but both is pretty close.
Oh, okay.
Nevertheless, Stuttgart is also a great city, and of course we are the country of cars.
BMW, Mercedes, Porsche.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you guys know what you're doing.
Porsche, by the way. And,
Porsche.
Maybe one last interesting point I'm curious about. Would you ever, or are you interested to learn the German language?
I would definitely learn some of it if I could,
Because it's
like teach
pretty
me a
similar.
phrase, like hit me with a phrase.
Okay, should it something be more Southern or should it be something High German?
I don't know. Whatever you want, man. It's up to you.
So one word I really love is just say servus.
Servus?
Servus. Austrians use it, even some Czechs use it, and most of the Southern German use it. Servus can be hello or goodbye at the same time.
How do you spell it?
Servus.
Service.
Servus. Not
Servus.
Servus.
Hello, goodbye. That's
Hello,
what it
goodbye.
means.
So I could just say.
So it's like ciao, kind
It's
of.
like ciao, like hello and bye at the same time. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Do you have anything else you want to say, like at the end here, kind of?
Guys, I just can tell you, come to Germany. It's worth. Even though we're so different, at the end we're so similar, and you're more than welcome. Germany is a great chance to explore so many things at the same time, from the mountains to the sea, to some northern food, to western food, to eastern food. Every region is different.
Right on, man. You're definitely enticing me to go more. Like I definitely am. I'm going to go to the Alps for sure. Like I need to climb that.
Need to.
This is the Grobglockner. This is the tallest mountain in Austria.
Oh, didn't saw that before. Oh.
Yeah. I love this picture because like a lot of the videos I'm making, like I just have this in the background. It's
It's great,
hilarious.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.
Stay tuned, guys, for episode 14 when it comes out. Should be out soon, but cheers. Have a good one. Peace.